Hi everyone, I'm Zana Fraillon
And I'm Bren MacDibble.
and we are the authors of
The Raven's
The Raven
Song.
Song. And this is a book that we collaborated on. So we wrote this book together, despite the fact that Bren and I had never met each other before. Even though we both live in Australia, we live thousands of kilometres away from each other. And how many hours was it to walk, Bren?
It was something like 700 hours to walk, 41 hours to drive, and 3,900 kilometres apart. So that's a fair way.
It's a fair way to go, even though we are both in the same country.
Yes.
And this is the first book we've both collaborated on, and it was so much fun writing with someone else, and it's something which I highly recommend.
Yeah, we each took a character and wrote that character, and then we did each chapter a different character, and then we brought them together. So it was a lot of fun working with Zana.
It was great. Well, should we read a bit of the story?
Right? Yeah. Let me start. Okay. So this is a little way from the start where the kids have discovered a hole in the perimeter fence. We spot the gap from a long way off because it's edged in white wool, snagged from the sheep that got pulled through. Normally gaps in the fence is ground level where the wires rusted from sitting in the soil and some honoured critters pushed up under it. But the gap we find looks like it was cut straight up in a line through the strong wire. So a man bent double could push it open and squeeze through. Who cut it? I asked. Davy rattles the fence. Is the wire faulty? Because no one from our township would cut a perimeter fence, ever. I hunt around the ground and I find a couple of the links that have fallen from the fence and show Davy the wire where it's been squeezed and snipped. Cut, I say. Davy takes a link and he turns it every which way and he shakes his head. Who'd do that, he asks. A perimeter fence. At least we know the wild dog went back through. I point at the clumps of wool on the wire and the blood smears either side of the fence. This is from the missing sheep. Davy nods and checks out the fence close up and he plucks some dark yellow fur and some black fur. Tiger. 'Twasn't no tiger, Davy. Ain't no tigers round here. I set to work with the pliers, wrapping new wire round and round to close up the gap between each link. The honoured and natural world is native animals only. A tiger in there with all them fat wild fowls and critters and things. The government would have hunted it down with drones 100 years ago. When the fences went up, Davy shakes his head. 'Twasn't no wild dog that drug a whole sheep up this hill and through this fence. This bit of land's different to what you read in school books, he says. This bit's fenced off from the honoured and natural world. It don't connect to the rest.
I love that so much. All right, and I'm going to read a bit from my character, Phoenix. And this is when we first meet Phoenix. There's a raven standing next to Phoenix's bed. A giant raven, big as a man. It's wearing bright red sneakers and is holding a black candle and a dripping wet sack. At least, Phoenix thinks it's a raven. He only got a quick glimpse before snapping his eyes shut tight, but it has one white feather right on top of its head, and Phoenix has never seen a raven with a white feather before, so maybe it isn't a raven at all. To be fair, he has never seen a man-sized raven before, or a raven in sneakers, or a raven carrying sandals or sacks, so the feather is probably, on the whole, not so important. The raven leans closer, nudging Phoenix with its beak. Phoenix tries not to move, tries to pretend he's deep asleep. If he's asleep, the raven will leave him alone. He'll take his candle and sack of whatever is wriggling and dripping and go back to wherever he came from, and Phoenix can tell himself it was just a dream. A hallucination even, brought on by the everyday stresses of being 12. Giant ravens are not real. Logically, it makes no sense. Those wings could never lift a body that big, not to mention finding shoes to fit over those claws. But dreams and hallucinations don't drip, and this one is making Phoenix's head quite wet. And that's where I'll
Lovely.
leave it. You guys only get a taste.
You get a
But
taste. Yep.
you get a taste. And now what we want to do is hand over to you all to do some writing. And you're going to collaborate on a bit of writing in your classes or in your homes. And just like Bren and I did, you're going to create this story together. So we'll tell you how to do it. What you all need is something to write on and something to write with. And I'm going to give you the very first sentence. And the very first sentence is, we entered the woods at sunset. We entered the woods at sunset. And what you have to do is you all have to write for 2 minutes, just whatever comes to your mind. Don't worry about it. It's not a serious piece of writing. You just have to write what happens next. After the sentence, we entered the woods at sunset. And you have to write for, let's say, 1.5 minutes. That's only 90 seconds, so it's not very long. And at the end of that 90 seconds, someone, your teacher or parent or friend, will say stop. And what you need to do then is you need to fold over the paper so that just the last line of writing can be seen. So in this example, the last line of writing that I did before we came says, a drone flies overhead and Wolfie barks. Now what you do is you're going to hand your bit of writing to your friend, and without unfolding it. They are not allowed, your friend is not allowed to see what you have written. Your friend then has to write for another 90 seconds what happens next. And then you're going to fold that bit of paper over and you're going to hand it to someone else. And you can decide how many people you hand it to and how long you go for. But at the end, you will have this fantastic story that has been created by multiple minds. And the wonderful thing about that is it means that you've created something together, and it's always going to be more than whatever you could create on your own. And that's what I found working with Bren, is that with our two brains working together, we came up with a story that was much more than either of us could have done on our own.
Yes, it was lots of fun. So we hope that you can work in pairs or work in a whole class, keep passing it around, and have a lot of fun with it. Just write to entertain yourselves.
Yeah, writing's all about having fun. And that was what Bren and I did. You know, when we wrote this book, we didn't know if we would ever get it published, but we wrote just to have fun and enjoy ourselves. And I think that's what writing should be about.
Yes, and we hope you have fun if you ever get to read the Raven Song.
Absolutely. All right, well, thank you all and enjoy, and hopefully we'll see you next time.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.